Letter from the Gantry.
But it actually is this week Letter from the Stand in Berlin. Martin Tyler.
Well, in a way, it's Letter from the Gantry from the intro, but here we go. And this was written on no sleep, so forgive me if it's not what you want, but I'm trying my best. I hadn't been to the Olympic Stadium in Berlin since the 2006 World Cup final between Italy and France. Happy memories of that, because commentating on my own for the Australian channel SBS, I ended up with two different commentary positions on a World Cup final. Non-European nations like Australia don't carry too much sway when there are two European teams playing in a European city, in Italy, France, in Berlin. Another complication was that as a one-man band, I was expected to pop up in vision before the game at halftime, then again at the end. That needed extra camera equipment, which, because it would obstruct any broadcaster from behind from getting a clear view of the match, it meant me being planted in the back row, which of course was furthest from the pitch. Therefore, my main job of calling the game was more difficult. To me, it seemed like the tail wagging the dog. Worse still, back in 2006, when I found my spot at the back of the main stand, the distance from the pitch was compounded by an obscured view of the right-hand goal. I couldn't see the right-hand goal. I ventured back to the control office just to point out this rather troubling difficulty, but expecting not much more than sympathy. I would have to follow the play at that end of the ground on the monitor. It's been done before. I would like to say then that fate smiled on me, but in fact it was the South African chief of commentary positions who made me smile, really smile. At the last minute, a position had become available through a no-show. Fancy that, a no-show at a World Cup final. And it was in the very front row, a prime site. All I had to do was run up and down and back up to the other position, having spoken to the camera at position one, to sprint down. I was 20 years younger then. Sprint down to gorge myself, as I put it, on the match itself from position two. It was such kindness. Well, on Sunday, I sat opposite that media stand, thanks to a German friend of mine who managed to get me a ticket for Spain versus England, the final of Euro 2024. More kindness associated with Berlin. As a fan, I had a bit to learn. Getting a QR code on my phone, not easy for someone of my age. Not taking a bag, very different to media duties when you have lots of bags and lots of notes. A man bag might have been okay, but although I could have carried it, there's no way I could have carried it off. For the record, despite lots of information to the contrary, the public transport was very good for the supporters. Free passes in the city for 36 hours starting at midnight on match day. Partly because of this, supporters' behaviour, from what I saw, was excellent. Mostly the two competing countries, but plenty of locals as well. The Germans I spoke to all said they wanted England to win, but they didn't seem to be prepared to shout about it. But they didn't hold back at targeting the Spain left-back Marc Cucurella, whose arm or hand they believe stopped Germany from being in the final. Cucurella was totally unperturbed. You might say he didn't turn a hair. The match, well, the better team won. The tournament, the best team won. And they picked up most of the individual awards. Man of the final, Nico Williams. Young player of the tournament, Lamine Yamal. Player of the tournament, Rodri. Even a share in that tie for the Golden Boot with Dani Olmo. Ardent England watchers would not have been too concerned when Williams put Spain in front, while in fact we were still digesting the news that Rodri, the great man, had not come out for the second half. It was the fourth game in a row that England had gone 1-0 down and they'd won the other three, with the help, I must say, of one penalty shootout, because although that always counts as a win for me, many a statman, and some of you might be listening or watching, record it as a draw. Not in my book. Cole Palmer, sweetly hit equaliser, was all part of the script. Another substitute would come and decide the game. That's the way England do it. He did, but he wasn't English. Mikel Oyarzabal, the latest breaker of English hearts at a major tournament. England's remarkable capacity for magical moments rather than sweeping displays almost produced extra time. Had it done so, Gareth Southgate's leap of celebration would have cleared the city's famous Brandenburg Gate. Many England fans stayed to applaud Spain's remarkable achievement. 7 straight wins, including beating the holders Italy, the host Germany, the nation that had been in the last 2 World Cup finals, France, and now consecutive Euro finalists in England. As someone who remains so clear about how 1966 lifted the spirits of the nation, I definitely wanted all of you who are closing on 60 years and younger who have never had that thrill to experience the utter joy that winning an international trophy can bring. It was fabulous back then. I am also very grateful to Gareth Southgate and his players and his staff for coming so close without ever being quite pressing all the right buttons at the right time. Proud of them, really. But on a podcast called The Joy of Football, the last word has to be simply Spain.